Live, baby. It was real. Another episode of the People's Rebuttal Podcast. Have another interesting podcast this morning. Have a visitor, a guest, a family member. Hey man, I'm excited.
Good morning. We live from the building, baby. Good to be here.
Morning, Jesse.
Jess, good morning.
All right, we ready?
All right, we here, man.
So
Yeah, what's going on?
So give us a little some. So we're gonna give you about 5 minutes of back history, and then we'll move into some stuff. So
5 minutes of what?
Your backstory. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up on the west side of Chicago in the Rockwell Project.
Okay.
And how young was it when you first got in trouble?
I was 13.
What'd you do?
1978.
All right.
What'd you do? What'd you not do?
The purse.
Everybody locked up's not guilty, man. What'd you not do?
I sold a purse.
Okay. So
yeah.
Ended up in juvenile or?
No, I didn't end up in juvenile right then. You know what I'm saying? The contents of the purse kind of like took me for a tail spin. I thought it was kind of like easy. The contents that I found inside the purse. I actually found the purse. It was up by the post office. Post office was around where I live, up on Western and Madison. So, you know, the contents that was in the purse sort of like put me on the tailspin of criminal activity.
So what's the tailspin? Where did it go from there?
Oh man, it went all kind of ways. I don't know if I was coming or going. I went left and I went right. It was just like plentiful. I'm gonna use the word plentiful.
Mm. And what was plentiful?
The cash. The lifestyle.
The lifestyle.
Easy cash.
Okay, the cash. Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, because it was easy. I mean, it was easier than making minimum wage, working hours and hours. You work 1 hour.
Yeah,
you get yours.
Oh, yes, it truly was. It truly was. It was way different than what it is now. Technology was sprung all up, but we didn't have a lot of this back then. So it was kind of like I got to use the word easy. It seemed easy, but today, looking at it today, it's not, because look where I'm at.
Right.
So what was your first time getting locked up? How old were you?
I was 13, turning 14.
And that was for the purse.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, a number of purses, not the very first one. As I kept going along, you know, I got caught several times, but I was taken to the police station. But about me being a juvenile, my mother would come get me most of the time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was avoiding jail at that particular time.
Okay.
So when they finally were like, "Nah, you're going to jail this time," you were 14, 13, 14 right there?
Right.
How
14,
long?
Actually.
How long were you in there?
Well, the Audi home, you would stay like a month, maybe a month or so.
And shall I interpret the Audi home as juvenile? Okay.
And then, you know, once you did that month and you got out, was it just right back to same old?
Yeah, kind of, because I didn't really think what they had sent me to was like punishable enough. So I was just repeating the same old cycle. You know, I was sort of like I thought it made me feel like I was a man or something.
Okay.
And so, I'm assuming you kept in and out through your juvenile.
Yes, I have. Yes, I was.
So, your first adult
Incarceration.
how old were you?
Shit, 18.
So I have a question before we move on.
Mhm.
Do you feel if they would have done more while you were a juvenile that you may or may not have continued on? Like if you actually
Yeah.
thought, man, damn, there's actually a consequence, not 30 days of vacation where I get to get 3 hots in a cot and hang out with my friends. Do you think it would have been
A deterrent.
a deterrent if they would have taken your, as a juvenile, they may have been more strict?
Been more strict.
Yeah.
Been more strict with me. Yeah. It's a possibility, strong possibility.
Okay.
But back then, I think the staff members, they was just coming to work to do what they do. They didn't care,
Okay.
So, they just sat there. They just got a paycheck. They all say we gonna all wind up the same way, come back anyway.
Mm.
They weren't really making an effort.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 57 now.
And so out of 57, and you had said earlier you'd spent half your life locked up.
About 24, 23 years.
So
Off
I
and
mean,
on,
at least
off
half
and
your. I mean, more than half you're adult, because
Adult, yes.
that's really where it comes down to it.
Well, I didn't really go to the penitentiary till I was 26 years old.
Okay.
But after that,
What was that
like a
for?
revolving door.
What was that for? What did you not do?
Drugs, basically drugs.
Possessing, selling. I mean, God, you'd have to possess so much, you'd have to be selling.
Yeah, selling, possession.
How much time did you get?
Well, in all actuality, I did a 4 years, 7 years at one time, 3 years, 2 years, and now this 15. But don't get me wrong, now the 7 years, you just do 50%, so I didn't do the whole 7 years. Sort of like off the 3 years, I would do 18 months. Like the 2 years, I would do 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. This the longest I've done right here.
So this time they got you for 15. Was that just habitual they were hitting you with, or was it
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, that's habitual.
Yeah, because in Texas that's
that's only
25
because-
minimum
Right,
in
because
Texas.
That was only because they took me to one of them little towns. I think if I was in Chicago, I wouldn't have got that much time. But they took me to one of them little towns. My background played a part in it. You just said the word habitual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they tag you habitual, and you get and that's there's some. We'll discuss that later on this, but there's good and bad to that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Mafio and I were talking a while back, and he said, Uncle said, "This is it. I'm done." So what makes you? What makes you done this time? Because I imagine you've said you were done many a times.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that question. Well, let me answer it like this here. Back then, I didn't feel I was done because I still had that itch I was trying to scratch. It was hard to shake. And plus, I used to get high off heroin. So the heroin kept me in the streets, kept me basically doing what I needed to do because I was addicted.
Mm-hmm.
But now, now, 57 years old, my body not like it used to be. I'm not young anymore. I don't have that mileage on me like that. So, you know what I'm saying? During these years I've been incarcerated, I reflect on a lot of things. Like, I don't have that in me no more. I definitely don't want to be like some of these old timers I see walking around in here with a cane and this, that, another. Because I don't have any more chances. If I leave out this time and come back, I don't think I'll ever get out. So me knowing that, that's what they got in store for me. Why would I go back out there and just throw my life away? That's like, to me, that's like committing suicide. So I'm not suicidal. Even though I've been gone, long as I've been gone, I still want to live. I think it's a chance for me out there. I still got people that love me. So God bless me with another chance. It's almost over with,
So have you?
Just a matter of,
Go ahead. Yeah, have you been doing any education stuff? Do they have that there?
yeah, I've been self-educating myself, you know, doing what I can, but they don't have a whole lot of opportunities, like, you know what I'm saying, things that we can get into. They, you know, they just got few things. Other institutions, they be having a lot of other little programs you can get into, but these programs down here, they're sort of like, I don't know. You know, it's like they pick and choose, like, you know, who they let in and out.
So basically, they ain't doing no fucking good for people who, yeah, that's a little frustrating.
Well, you know, they got some I'm not going down institution like that. They got some programs in here worth taking, but you know what I'm saying? The individual got to step up and, you know, get out there if this is what they want. You know what I'm saying? They got to apply themselves. A lot of them don't apply themselves. They're just here doing time. You know, you got a lot of the young generation coming in here now, so can't tell them nothing. You know, they eager to get back out there and do the same thing I guess I was doing. You know, they're hard headed. They ain't gonna learn until, you know what I'm saying, they get hit upside the head, sort of saying. So there's opportunities. There's opportunities here. You just got to go for it if you want it.
So, are you going to go back to the back to Chicago, back to the same old?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, I'm going back to the city, but I'm not going back to the same area. You know what I'm saying? You know, I still got people up there, but I think I'll be all right. You know. They say people, places, and things, and I think I'm a little bit smarter now, you know, to stay away from all that, what's bad for me.
Well, you know, there've been quite a few things, you know, people who've gotten out and done their thing. And, you know, we do work with Jim Brown, and they hold Rock Johnson up there and say, oh, you know, look at Rock. You know, the exception to the rule. He's not the rule. When you have, you know, Jim Brown basically taking you by your hand and saying, come with me. That's not like going back to the same streets, falling into the same, you know, and there have been not really studies, but there have been kind of looking at how that works, and people who move away and go somewhere else and do something else and get out of the people who know you, people who think of you in a certain way. And it may not be your friend, it may not be your family, your friends, but just the people around you who they're not really after your success. They don't really care. You being in contact. I mean, family and friends, sure, they care, but everybody, they don't care. So there's a lot to be said. And I said this the other day when you and I, you know, when we were talking about doing this, you know, after everything I have learned, I would tell you, don't go back. Don't even go back to the same area. You know, stay out, you know, 6 months, a year, go home and visit. You know, maybe when you first get out, go home and visit, get out, build yourself before you get into the same thing. I mean, it's just a recommendation of mine. I gotta be honest, I thought I had a hard fucking question, and it wasn't that fucking hard. You fucking aced it, dude. I mean, there's nowhere to go at that point. You know, you always said and basically you had the perfect answer for it. So I mean, I think everybody here wishes you the best. Vaughn, you got any questions?
No, man. It's it's just so reminiscent of my dad. You know, he spent a lot of time in prison, and you know, there's two ways you can learn in this world, and that's either, you know, you learn from your own experiences, or you learn from watching other people. And even though, you know, my dad wasn't there, he would tell me what not to do. So I don't think he ever lied to me about, you know, some of the stuff he did. He was very he didn't condone any stuff that he did. But just watching him and listening to him and going to visit him in prison, that was enough for me.
So do you have any kids?
Yeah. Technically speaking, you know, he was just saying about his father, you know, man, my oldest son, like that. My oldest son, 35, my youngest, 29. So, piggybacking off what he just said about, you know what I'm saying, being honest about the situation. That's how me and my oldest boy is, you know. He was coming to see me, but the COVID sort of hit. So, you know what I'm saying, you know. But now he started back to working, man. I was talking to him this morning, you know what I'm saying. So I be being upfront with him about things and this and another. He probably was he probably was doing the same thing my man just spoke on, you know, watching and you know, just paying attention. But I did have a relationship with him, but it wasn't really like, you know, how I really wanted it to be because I was in the streets and and I was getting hot, you know, but he knew all that, you know what I'm saying? He still loved me anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I had kept a lot of things away from him and told him a lot of things that he shouldn't do and how he should have lived his life. Because at one time he was out there calling himself selling drugs for people, you know what I'm saying? He got in trouble. And he called me. And I had went over there, you know what I'm saying? So safe to say, you know what I'm saying, that situation had ironed itself out, you know what I'm saying? He had saw where his wrongs was at and you know, he got away from that. You know, now he's a married man, you know, he got a child, he's a homeowner, you know, he's doing his own thing, you know, and I'm proud of him for that. But me, piggybacking off what you just said too about the friends and this and another, I already know my friends. If them friends so-called still getting high, they're not my friends. I don't need to be around them, you know what I'm saying? Because they're going to try to make me feel small like them. You know, so I don't need all that. And plus my area where I come from, my mother's not around there no more. So I don't need to go back around into that area. You know, then they got organizations and programs out there, sort of like the Safer Foundation, Second Chance, and this and another. And like I said before, if you apply yourself, then people will help. So, you know, if you keep 1 foot in front of the other one and keep it moving, you know, like I guess life would be groovy, you know?
I think another thing he said too, if you know any of the listeners listening, he said that he was addicted to heroin. You know what I mean? That right there really changed, you know, how people look at things in a logistic way, you know, a logical way, I'm sorry. Every day, you know, if you listening and you listening to the story.
So, because that was actually a good question. The only reason is he doesn't have I'm sitting here watching that clock. He ain't got a bunch of time.
Okay, good.
So I do have a question about that. Do you feel that it was too easy to get? Drugs were too easy to get. Cops knew what was going on, not doing anything about it. Because, I mean, we spend billions of dollars a year in the DEA, and yet we can't find half these motherfuckers doing this shit.
I could answer that.
No.
But go ahead.
But yeah, he didn't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like it was easy. It seemed like they weren't paying attention, but they always was paying attention. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're paying attention to bust you.
To bust you.
But look, you know, they was building their cases. You know what I'm saying? They kept letting us do our own thing and let us, you know, build our own traps. So, you know what I'm saying? Like my record, you know what I'm saying? They let it add up and they let it add up. But yeah, it seemed to ease in the beginning to me. You know, that's why I kept on doing it. But like right now today, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I wouldn't do none of this. You know what I'm saying? But in the time I was coming up, it seemed plentiful. You know, it wasn't no whole lot of laws like they got out now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people weren't paying attention. We was getting ass whoopings back then, but I think me getting whoopings made me run more to the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not getting no whooping like that no more. I ain't going home. So, you know, that's how I stayed out in the streets. But right now today though, the way technology is now, you would never get ahead if you think you're a drug dealer or you're doing something illegal.
Every motherfucker got a ring.
You'll be surprised. We'll talk about it.
They're watching you. They're watching you now.
No question.
Ain't no way you can get away.
You have 1 minute left.
Hey, man, keep in touch. We want to keep I work with a couple of charities. You know, would love to, you know, not only help you, but, you know, help you to help people. Because it's you know, again, you gave a fucking perfect answer. How am I gonna say what I was gonna say? I mean, that was it, man.
Hey, well,
good luck to you.
Go ahead. Just let my nephew know, man, what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? You know,
I will.
I always kick with him every day, man. So you know what I'm saying? You know, the love he got, but you know, something he throw my way if it could help me. You know, I'm all in, man. You know.
All right, man. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Unc. Anything last thing you want to share before the time run out?
Yeah, man, I just want to send a shout out, man, to my nephew, man, Mafio Irby, man. He loved me, man. He trying to get me on the right track, man. He remind me so much of my oldest brother, man. I wish my brother was here today, man. You know.
Thank you for using Securus.
Goodbye. In a minute. All right, everybody. Uncle Bo.
Well, so
appreciate that.
Yeah. So, you know what prison he's in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That reminds me a lot when my
Yeah, no.
when my
And I
dad
didn't. I
used to
wasn't trying to
call.
interrupt you, but I
No,
was
I'm
sitting there
just saying
watching
when
that
he used
20
to call, you used to hear that. Hey, tell your mama to remember. You know,
Yeah, try to wrap it up.
he's trying to wrap it up quick.
Yeah, no question.
But I mean, you were telling it how it reminded you of your dad. And,
Yeah, it did, man. It did, man. I just I think when things resonate with you, you make moves based off how things resonate with you. So I just remember, man, driving down, and he wasn't in no baby prison. He was in a big boy prison.
Yeah.
So I remember driving down to Angleton, Texas, and that shit was in the country. We went through a neighborhood, and that shit was number filled after that. And they had people out there with rifles and stuff, and you know, trustees was out there working. They working. And then you would get closer to the prison, and you see the rec yard, and I would see all these guys on the fence looking like animals, man. And I never forget that. I said, man, it looked like they was animals, you know, like they were just caged up, man, and they couldn't go nowhere. You know, you had guys in there, you know, hooping and shit like that, but they was behind the damn fence. You know, I'm like, I don't know if I like that. You know, but I could always see my dad as we were rolling by. I could always find him.
Really?
I could always find him.
Find Waldo, their dad.
Yeah, dad right there. Because he would always have this look of, I think he would always have this look on his face. Not look on his face, but it was a stare because he knew he wasn't going to see me for a long time. So he would take all his time that he could to lay his eyes on us while we were there.
Yeah.
So even when they would bring them in, when we sitting in the face-to-face, the face-to-face room, they would bring them through the other room where they strip searching or whatever. He still have his eyes on me. I never forget that. You know, while they were searching.
Yeah.
And I just know I know that wasn't for me because he told me a lot of stuff then.
Well, and did your dad just do one stint, or was he out in the back?
He was in and out a bunch of times. Then that last time he went for like 12 years straight.
And then he got out and he was done.
Yeah, he got out. I was 22 years old.
How old was he?
50, I think.
And he stayed out the rest, hadn't been back.
No, he didn't. He died maybe about 4 years after that.
Wow.
Yeah, he died maybe about 4 years after that. So he spent them time running them streets pretty good, but shit, it feel like he was in prison most of the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, I don't have the visitation. You know, for the longest time, you know, I thought, because I thought my mom was just gone. You know, I'd have like, okay, well, she didn't want to see me. Well, I mean, that was partially true. But the other part was, I guess, when I was about 9, she got busted and went back to prison, which I didn't know. And then she got out and went back to prison. But there was never a visitation. There was none of that. Matter of fact, Megan sent me a text the other day and asked me if I called my mama, for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Which is funny. The joke is, why, you know where my mama at? Megan called me. It was actually pretty funny, and I sent her back a text. I don't want to. Okay, there it is.
Wow.
I did, but the prison would not let me talk to her because they were in lockdown. She stabbed someone over pudding.
That's ridiculous.
But hey, I used to always win the my mama can whoop your mama's ass.
Yeah.
Shit, you want to fuck with my mama?
How do you feel that with your mom being incarcerated like that? How do you feel that has affected you as a man?
So,
as a person,
we discussed the first Debbie, the second Debbie.
Yeah.
For the longest time as a child, I always considered first Debbie as my mother, right? 100% first Debbie was my mother. Second Debbie was abusive as shit. But my grandmother, if it hadn't have been for my grandmother, I think it would probably be bad. That it would have affected. But the kids all the time, they've made jokes like, I mean, dear goodness, I mean, we think we know your grandmother like she's standing right next to you, because my grandmother and
this is your dad's mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a span of, a decade, I mean, more than a decade, for a while, from 17 on, my grandmother was the staple of how you should be. And I mean, she was never judgmental about it either. It wasn't like, oh my God, what in the world? Da, 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 da. It was, son, I'm gonna tell you now that you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but you really need to X, Y, whatever the case may be.
So, and I'm sorry to cut you off. So getting back to the question that Vaughn asked you, what effects did that have on you?
My grandmother?
No, with your mom being incarcerated. With
Oh,
your mom-
none.
No effects.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I
and
meant
that-
more so. I meant more so for her not being there. What do you think? How you think that has affected you as a man? Well, you've had people to step in and obviously take those spots, but for us in a black area, mom was always a staple because dad was gone. You know what I mean? Dad was all, and that goes
See, I was
around a
raised
lot.
by,
Yeah,
my dad.
but when mom gone, I don't know how that feels. You know what I'm saying?
I
I
get
think
it.
I think we
Oh, I
gravitate
mean-
towards mom.
1985 Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl that December before the Super Bowl. First Debbie and my dad, I'll never forget it. First time I ever saw my dad cry was when Debbie left. And oh yeah, no. I'll tell you now, I was utterly fucking destroyed.
Mhm.
Because it was, and I look back on it now, and my grandmother told me that it was my dad's choice for her not to see me, or for me not to see her.
Okay.
And I remember driving in the car one time and seeing her, and literally my grandmother had to pull over because I was screaming that, oh my God, there's Debbie. So I'm 10 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman is basically who I consider my mother to be. My dad for a while was, well, actually in the beginning, there was a lot of, my worst ass beating I ever gotten was right then. She came to get her stuff. I was at his sergeant major's house, and I had gone down to the lake. It was snowing. I had gone down the lake with some friends, and my dad was looking for me, although his sergeant major knew where I was at. I was down by the lake, which is why he knew to go down there to get me. And I'll never forget, he held me. That was the first time my dad ever held me upside down and beat my ass.
Word.
And my grandmother screaming the whole time, "Stop it, David! Stop
I'm
it,
sorry.
David!"
I'm sorry. I giggle. Man.
No. I mean, you think about it, just.
That's not like old country ass whipping. That's a country ass whipping.
But would I have known more how it would have affected me? Because it was only 6 years until you got to remember, so my dad and the first Debbie divorced. My grandmother moved to Chicago. She was there for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the military, you can't have sole possession of a minor by yourself because you're in the military.
Really?
Right. So
I
he
didn't know
literally
that.
had to give
Right.
custody
You got to
to my
have
grandmother.
somebody else. Yeah, you
I didn't
do.
know
Somebody
that.
else got to be with that baby. Yeah.
Word.
Well,
Well, of course, makes sense.
10,
Now
11
that I
years
think
old
about
at
it,
the time,
yeah.
but yes.
Yeah.
Well, we call them babies.
Yeah.
We still.
And so it was only a 5-year period that I spoke to my grandmother on the phone. I got cards from my grandmother, but it was a 5-year period till we moved to Midland, Odessa. And my grandfather was a huge part of, controlling that situation.
Which situation?
The between Debbie and I. So I
Okay,
told you she
okay,
was a mean
okay,
little
okay.
fucking bitch.
So Debbie, what's your mom's name?
Susan.
Okay, so Debbie's a stepmama.
The
Or
first
was
Debbie
somebody,
1, Debbie
girl.
2. Yeah. My dad married 2 Debbies in a row.
He married both of them.
Yes.
So it wasn't no shacking up or nothing. We went right on, slid in on the
Yeah.
home plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Your dad he's falling in love easy, though.
man, my dad's been married like 8 or 9 times. I don't even know how that shit's fucking legal. I found out about the one
We
before
told
my
it-
mom. I didn't even know he was married before Susan.
Word. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the question of what would it have been like if what was it like during that 5 years? I don't know. I was fighting Debbie number 2 constantly. So there wasn't really time to think of, man, I wish I had a mom.
Word.
And Susan had become a joke to me at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the funny thing was Debbie number 1 used to always give me an out. Oh, do you miss your mom? I'd be like, you get in trouble and you act out and you do something. She'd be like, oh, do you miss your mom? I'd be like, yes.
Mhm.
So she'd buy a hook line. My dad didn't buy that shit.
Of course.
And Susan never even came up, never even crossed my mind. The only time she ever crossed my mind was when Debbie'd be like, "Oh, do you miss your mom?" I'd be like, "Yes." And I wouldn't get in as much trouble.
Of course.
Yeah, and she was a little bit
So
of
it
a
wasn't
protector.
sincere. You just
Yeah,
used
nah,
it as advice. Gotcha.
So in both, so both Debbies were somewhat of a fail, right? I mean, they wasn't.
First Debbie, I mean, I didn't get as punished as bad. You know, don't get me wrong, she held me to task. I mean, you did something wrong and she held you to it. She wasn't like some softie or anything. But she wasn't cruel like Debbie number 2.
Okay.
And my dad wasn't, you know, full blown. So I guess there was. And I have no doubt that I was worse after Debbie number 1.
Yeah.
I have, because, you know, she was a loving check. I guess that, you know, she'd check you and, you know, she'd walk you through it. But if it hadn't been for my grandmother, yes, I think my life would probably have been much worse.
Them strong grandparents, man. I mean, they stepped up in a lot of ways for us, especially in our generation, because we had some strong grandmothers then. You know, that had they were rooted down in what religion most of the time, and not only that, rooted down in just you know, doing what's right. You know, my grandmama didn't play that shit. You know what I'm saying? I got some ass whippings. But I guess my next question would be, how do you feel like all of those, going through all of those women has affected your relationship, or the way you feel about women now as a grown man?
Nothing.
You don't think so?
And maybe in the beginning, maybe in like your first few little relationships, it's, you know, how you should act. And, you know, I've told people time and time again, don't ever take my kindness for weakness. And because I'm one of those people, you know, when I'm done with you, I promise you, I'm just fucking done with you. And, you know, women tend to take your kindness and
give me an example. Give me an example of that.
A real life example.
I had somebody the other day say this to me. He's like, have you ever been in an argument where a woman says some of the cruelest things that you could fucking say to somebody? You know, whatever the case, you're worthless, whatever the case may be.
Like your dick little?
Sure. Your dick little,
boy,
all that, you know.
Boy, you get right to it, don't you?
But
I ain't feel shit. That's right. I ain't feel shit.
I've been faking it. But, you know, you're worthless, or, you know, they throw things that they know you may have in the back of your mind at you, right? That has more defined, you know, not making sure, you know, that is never, I'm never going to be with anybody who would talk to me like that. And I have had women, and we're not going to get into you know, why you stay and why you do all that. But the point is, you know, I finally made a decision, and we're not going to give the year because that would give away.
No doubt.
You know, I finally made the decision that I am not going to allow someone to talk to me that way. That's number one.
Absolutely.
The number two thing is I don't believe, you know, first of all, you cheat on me, we're done. That's the end of it. And with that said, though, if you're so cruel, because he was basically talking about the mean shit this girl had said to him, how in the world could you be with somebody who would talk, I love you, but then talk to you that way? That's number one. And number two, just there has to be a point of civility. You can't love somebody. You can't truly love somebody and say shit like that. You can't truly love somebody. And I get the heat of the moment, and I've said some shit in the heat of the moment.
Well, I feel like we have a lot of hurt people out here hurting each other. A lot of people are running around unhealed, or if you choose to not work on certain parts of you, you can't. This is what I call people I say you sweep it up under the rug. If you never really nip shit in the bud and things that bother you in your life, that shit's
100%.
gonna
Builds
come
up.
back. And I
Yeah.
think I was trying to get to
And comes
'cause-
back all at once in this
yeah,
freaking ridiculous
but it shows,
deal.
but it shows his head. It shows his head. Like, I'm a firm believer. If you never, and I'm talking from my experience, you know, and I was married, so I'm a firm believer. If you don't love your father, if you don't like your father, there's no way you can ever love me as a
Speaking
man.
from a woman's standpoint.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you hate your father, there's no way you can ever love me. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see anything that resonates with what you like in a man with me. Your first love should be like your father, grandfather. You know, in appreciation for
You're
the
talking
other.
a man. It may not be the father, but you
It might
just
be the
have
other.
a love, or you might be a
I'm
grandma, a
speaking
brother,
from
a big brother.
I'm speaking from me and my wife's perspective.
Right.
That's what I'm speaking from. But I'm saying it can be flipped around the other way. If you don't find that love and appreciation in the opposite sex, it's going to be hard for you, in my opinion, to find that what you're searching for in the opposite sex as a partner. That's what I'm saying. And I just don't feel like at certain points in in and out of my relationship that she ever really appreciated me, because I know she didn't like her damn daddy. That at the end of the day, she didn't like him like she fucking couldn't stand him. You know, like what else do you have for me then? You know,
But see, so in your scenario, mine would be replaced with first Debbie and grandmother.
right? You have people.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying
because it could even be an older brother.
yeah.
You know, your dad's gone,
Yes,
but your older
yes.
brother
My
steps
brother
up.
stepped
It may
in,
be an
yes,
uncle. It
yes.
may be
Yeah,
something. It
yes.
may that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but
A
I'm just
male-
saying,
for her, a male figure; for you, a female figure.
Yeah, but I was just speaking specifically from mom to son. You know what I'm saying? So there's, we hear this talk about there's nothing like having mom, but there's a lot of us who didn't have one. One that was there for us, like, how they, market it to be.
But I can tell you, there's nothing worse than walking in that door and talking to your grandmother or talking to my grandmother and telling her something, and the woman breaks down and cries. Not
Grandma.
mad at you.
Grandma.
Yeah, not mad at you. My grandmother wasn't mad at me for whatever.
You
for
saying
what
you
it
walked
was.
in and you told her something and she started crying?
Oh, I was always. I mean, obviously, there's things you don't say, but yeah. I mean, I talked to my grandmother about a decision I was about to make, and my grandmother literally, it was a good decision, but I mean, it's one of those things. She was happy. It was kind of, it was a weird deal, but yes, I mean, it was. It was my grandmother was, matter of fact, when I sat there and wrote the post to her final Facebook thing, and it was about my grandmother was one of those people that was extremely elegant. She used to say, I don't understand why we have to have sex in movies. In my day, you would have the two people come together in front of the fireplace, and the camera would just pan over to the fireplace,
no question.
and then it would go to the next scene. She's
Right.
like, you can imply
Yeah.
without having to put it in there.
I get it.
And it wasn't because she was snooty. It wasn't because of anything. It was just her point of, we've taken away, all these girls running around here in these short skirts. And
has
actually,
a lot to do with it.
but
It
actually,
has a lot to do with it.
she was a fan of the dress that came to about right here.
Mhm.
You
Above the
could
knee.
see her ankles.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. But the pleated where you twirl and it twirl with you.
Yeah.
And it was about the elegance of, being a woman. You don't have to wear shorty shorts and do all those things.
Mhm.
You can show elegance.
Having tact.
Right.
Having tact.
For her, she called
I
it
get it.
elegance.
Yeah.
It was women have the opportunity to be elegant. And if you watch a lot of the, we see these women, we're like, she fine, she that.
That done changed a lot.
Yeah. But if
It's showing a lot more than these.
Right.
Now.
But and that would have been fine. I mean, I doubt my grandmother would be like, it has to be below the knees. It was just the point of, because it would twirl and the way it looked.
Yeah.
And so I found a picture. I have all my grandmother's pictures, and I posted them on Facebook with the intent so that all the family could have copies of the pictures.
Okay.
And so it was funny. David, my father, actually went on there because I didn't know who a lot of the people were.
Mhm.
And so I would post him up there, and I sent him the link because I felt he needed the pictures. We weren't even talking at that point. And you know, he went through there and was like, oh, well, that's so and so and so and so and such and such. Well, that's so and so, which was great because I didn't know who a lot of them were.
Yes.
But it's that last picture. I made sure it was the last one because it was my grandmother standing on the street in Odessa by my grandfather and my grandmother's house when they were married, and her just standing there in a pleated damn dress. And I basically told the story of, you know, the elegance that my grandmother gave me, you know, to respect, to seek elegance,
What
to
she
seek,
represented.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yes.
yeah.
But you're able to find.
I mean, you got to go
something
through a
that's-
few hoes
but-
to find the elegance,
right.
But,
Well, but you know, even the word hoe is subjective, though.
Yeah,
it just
no question.
well,
depends.
men can be hoes.
But-
So I'm
No,
nobody's saying it's a
Absolutely,
women thing.
absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, but
Obviously,
it's
I
still-
was being a hoe by being with what I
but it's
call a
part of,
hoe.
but it's part
We
of the
hoeing
process.
together.
But it's a part of the process. You're supposed to trust it. You know, you got to go through some stuff to find out what you want.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't go through the jelly bowl, but you had to go through the jelly bean bowl before you figured out you didn't like the black licorice. And some of us like the black
Black licorice,
licorice.
yeah.
Some of us like
No
it.
question.
So, yeah, but even through all that, you have something that
I tell you why.
you have something that you can resonate with that opposite sex because of her, because of your grandmother.
Well, and we've kind of gotten off because I do have.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. Because I was just letting you all go. And the only
No, what you got?
and the only thing I could think about from a psychological perspective is, again, we're products of our environment.
yeah.
When I saw my uncle, his whole life, I grew up in that environment. Couple years after, he's like probably 13 years older than me, if that. You know what I'm saying? So I saw his life at a very early age. I knew about the community he came from. I mean, that's my dad's next to the youngest brother. So I saw him become a product of his environment, right?
Uh-huh.
Everything you talk about with grandma and the two Debbies and your dad, you were a product of your environment, right? You talk about your experience with your mom and your dad, and I really wanted to know how you felt. The same question you asked Zach: how were you affected by, with your dad being incarcerated? We had conversations about it, but I just wanted to paint a picture for the listeners, like.
But how did but as far as my dad being in prison?
How did it affect you?
Oh shoot, man.
I wasn't gonna go.
Huh?
You weren't gonna go.
I know I wasn't going to go. I knew I wasn't going to go because he told me not to.
Yes.
He told me don't verbatim, if I could say the words I want to say. He said, "Don't come to this MF."
Yeah.
They in
You
here.
could say motherfucker on this.
He said,
He
"Don't
did.
come." He said, "Don't come to this motherfucker." They in here fucking these little boys, Chad. He told me
Wow.
just
Oh,
like that.
damn.
And I was 10 years old.
Okay.
I was 10 years old. He told me just like that. He said, "This ain't no place for you, son."
Okay.
He told me just like that.
Okay.
And boom, it was like that. But not only that, I got a chance to see my mom every day. And I seen how my mom struggled to keep us where we was going. And I seen my mom cry a lot. You know what I'm saying? And all I kept remembering was, I'm not gonna do my wife like that.
See what I'm saying?
That's all I kept
See what
remembering.
I'm saying?
Because I love this woman so much. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I don't think she deserved to be taken up and down like that. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? And so I seen how it affect me and my sister. And I was like, I'm not gonna be like that with my kids.
I got you.
So, but what was the difference between you and his son? Because his son ended up getting in trouble that he ended up getting out of. But you saw it, said I wasn't going to do it. But his son, he said had gotten in a little bit of trouble, and he helped. He went and saw him, and he ended up coming out the other end.
Okay, so
So product of an environment isn't always.
Well, you got
My dad says not to do it, but you're living a life on the streets and you do it anyway.
well, you got intrinsic and extrinsic learning. You got
Yeah.
do two different
Ooh,
learners.
we getting
Let's
fancy
go,
over
Yeah,
here.
you do. You
Let's
do.
go.
You do.
Now
So
you speaking my
even he
language.
learned. I'm definitely intrinsic and extrinsic, but I'm gonna learn extrinsic first. If I see you
Hey.
jump off and fall, ain't no
Hey.
way Vaughn coming behind
I'm
you.
glad.
I'm like, no way.
I'm so glad.
I'm sorry to cut you off because it's
No,
your
you
turn.
good. Keep going because this all
Mhm.
Well, I want to get to the last part of because I want to stick within the same deal with your uncle. I mean, so do you think that
Not the jelly beans.
Hey, speak.
he failed,
Who?
your uncle, or did the system fail?
What? Wait. Give me that question again.
So in your uncle's
Sit.
span of his life,
Mhm.
did he fail, or did we as a country fail?
Uh-oh. Here we go. I think it was part of the plan.
It was.
I think it was.
I think it's part of the plan.
It was the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It was the culture and how he grew up and what he grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
But he admitted that when he was 13, I mean, he go in 30 days, he come right back out, get in trouble, go in 30 days, come right back out. To me, that's a system failure.
But at the same time, it was the culture of the west side of Chicago. You know, they didn't care about kids going to jail and doing all that kind of shit.
Well, that culture
Apparently.
that culture didn't happen by chance, though.
No,
Oh, no.
it was definitely designed. It
Yeah.
was definitely designed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You think we brought heroin in there? Shit, we didn't have nothing to do.
you know that era of the culture was back when they say, okay, we're gonna send kids to juvenile. But
For 30 fucking days.
But nowadays, they're fucking charging juveniles as adults.
Are they?
You what?
They need to.
Well,
Some of these
no,
motherfuckers killing.
There's a listing.
I don't know about that.
Yes,
I don't know about
it's
that.
only for certain crimes that they're
I'm
charging.
talking about motherfucking armed robbery and killing.
Yes. Well, they can do it for drugs, but it has to be massive. It has to be massive quantities.
If you go up and you shoot them, you going and robbing people with gun fucking points, you know what you're doing, man.
But at the same time, you're about to send a kid to prison, 11, 13 years
They
old.
used to marry them at that age.
For life.
And
You were a
fucking and
spinster.
had kids.
You were a spinster at 14.
For life.
In the Bible, it says that you held accountable after 12, right?
But at the same time, you got these goddamn politicians.
I
being involved,
understand.
And these
I
laws.
fucking
and
understand.
these corporations, and they pay a damn fine and miss jail when they done fucked up the whole.
You right.
The whole structure of
Yeah.
what government and democracy is.
I'm
Okay, I
agreeing.
don't want to get.
I'm
so-
agreeing, and I'm
Like,
agreeing
but
with.
I wanna
Maybe
get
I'm
to
looking
the-
at. Maybe I'm looking at it as if
It's
I'm
the
sitting in the
system.
house and the motherfucker walking there with a gun. I'm not seeing a child no more.
I get it.
Well, you're
That's
not
all
a
I'm-
child.
No, you're not,
I
in
get
my opinion. But maybe that's I'm just selfishly looking from that standpoint. But I'm agreeing with you.
But at the same time, like, you know, a lot of these kids, like I say, we're products of our environment.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get thrown in the fire early. Look at
Yeah.
my uncle, 11, 13
with no
years old.
logic.
But again,
with no good
but again,
logic.
so you give it. The system failed in his younger years, and he even said that if it would have been different, life probably would have been a lot different. He didn't say with 100%. I gotta be honest with you. Your uncle didn't follow the path I was trying to lead him on. The motherfucker just kept giving right answers. I was like, well, fuck. So, but it's a good thing because it makes you look at it and say, all right. I mean, he's not bullshitting.
Oh, he's
So-
straight up.
Well, yeah,
Always
but
have
just like I said to him, every motherfucker locked up always says I ain't coming back.
Yeah, no question. I get it.
So, but the elegance of the answer on the final one, that is, you know, I got 15. You know, I see what's coming down the road. You know that.
And
that
he did,
is-
and then he also said he felt like if he goes back, he ain't coming out no more.
Yeah.
It's not a game
It's
anymore.
totally different than
Yeah,
when he was
he's
a
like,
kid.
I
He
don't
was like,
want to
yeah.
die.
Yeah.
I don't want to die in here. He's seen people in there with a cane. You know, he's painting a picture. You know, in my mind, I'm
Right.
starting to see what he's talking about. And I mean, and I wanted to ask him some questions too
I
about.
wish you would've.
Well, I don't know. You know, I didn't want to put him on the spot like that because I know me from being out in the free world all the time, my entire life. It's like, how do you go without being even having what my homeboy Jasper Hughes says, even smelling the musk of a woman? I
Man,
don't know how you do that.
Listen, so
You didn't
I
gave up that.
can speak to my uncle's situation and being a drug addict,
You know,
being addicted to
that's
heroin.
why I said
You
that
see what I'm
earlier.
saying?
That's exactly why I said that.
Him, when it came to getting that fix, bro,
Yeah.
I've seen him steal from every person in my family. And it wasn't like selective, it was any opportunity. And so I had to realize because he stole some things from me on a number of occasions. And I had to come to a realization that wasn't my
That
uncle
wasn't
stealing,
him.
that was the drug stealing.
Yeah.
Even though I was young and I wanted to, you know what I'm saying, get at him when I wanted to get at him. But
you still got to put it on him. Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah, he
it was
did it.
the control. It was a choice of allowing something. It's still a choice that's made by a person to allow a thing to control them. I'm 100% of there is a forgiveness in there. I am 100% that you move forward, not backwards. But there is an element to that of I made a choice to continue. It's kind of funny. I made a choice with basically a chain around my neck, heroin, but I didn't break that chain. I just kept going.
And I don't have
And
any.
I want to speak to that. I'm sorry.
And
go ahead.
I can't even relate to that because
Yeah.
I don't know what drugs feel like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
I can
don't-
only fucking imagine.
and I don't either. But from the experiences that I had from
Right.
having so close, my father, you know what I'm saying? So many uncles, so many people in my family, in my community I grew up in, they were my anti-drug. They were my anti-alcoholism. They were my anti-having kids by multiple women or not taking care of a kid. They were all those examples that I saw. Having a mother as a dictator that I had to, and putting a mantra in my head to say, I refuse to allow you to grow up to be like your dad, his brothers, my brothers, or any of these no good men in this community. I always used to think about that. And so I always used to assess and analyze and say, damn, what is it about them? What is it about them? And even though it may sound like a bunch of negativity that was around me, there was ample positivity around me. I want to make that point. Like,
oh, absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? My
Yeah.
dad, like, they say he was a
It's
drug addict,
more.
but I couldn't tell you when
It's
I
more.
seen him high.
It's always more positive.
You see what I'm saying?
It is. My dad, even though he was man, I remember the good shit more than because he didn't do nothing like that around us.
He didn't show me.
Yeah, I didn't
he
get
didn't
to
put
see
it in
that.
my face.
No, he
Like-
didn't. When he was there, he was fucking there.
Man.
I promise you, he was.
He was the essence of your shirt, bro. My dad
Yeah.
was always a hero to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like throughout all the stories that I heard people talking, like you hear my uncle, man. I don't know that. I know what he gave me, and it was Superman to me, bro. And I don't care what my mother said and what she didn't like about him. He was still my Superman.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, bro, I heard some real stories. Like my dad was really known on the west side of Chicago as a big boy in so many areas.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, he was my Superman. I learned so much from him, man. To this day. You know what I mean? I think about like, man, my father, man, he instilled so much good in me, bro. I wouldn't be half the person I am. Now my mom is the other half. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of just tearing up about it because again, like I'm just thinking about growing up as a kid and seeing all these men, and then I look at myself right now and like, damn, bro, like
I could have had that
could have
path.
been way worse.
Could have been worse,
It could
fam.
have been way worse.
Could have
You
been
know what I'm
worse.
saying?
Man.
And man, it could have
Yeah.
been
No.
way worse, bro.
Yeah.
That shit was life, man. And that shit that's going on in
Mhm.
Chicago now, that shit ain't life. You know what I mean? And a lot of people cannot attest to what's really going on out there. But everybody got a fucking opinion about stuff that they don't know about, man.
Mm-hmm.
These fucking politicians want to say abortion legal. They don't know a person that's been raped or molested and want to say, I'm going to control your life.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. You don't even understand, but these other people come on, man.
Yeah,
Bro,
that's
my
making
bad,
it there.
man. But
It's making it shit. I had to
I
hold.
just hate to see people not be able to be individuals. We got to be grouped in.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody got opinion about everything just because it don't sit well with them.
Right, but now you're seeing the who was it? One of the state attorneys said that their state, although the law will go into effect, their state will not enforce the trigger laws that go into effect.
What you say? Say that again. Trigger. What's a trigger law?
So if Texas, we have trigger laws, which means the law's on the book, but it's overridden by Roe v. Wade.
Okay.
So if Roe v. Wade is reversed, that law goes into effect because it's no longer protected by Roe v. Wade. It's a trigger law.
Okay. Gotcha.
The news this morning, which is actually a pretty big deal, because I think the governor is a Republican, but the attorney general of the state is a Democrat, has said that our state will not be prosecuting
Women who get abortion or
Right.
doctors who perform it.
which is huge. I mean, you're just sitting here like, what the fuck? Is that even possible? And you
And
Google
people
it,
been
it's
fighting.
actually true.
And I go to the knee
Which-
doctor, and there's a clinic right next to it, and people sitting out in front of her every day.
Yes.
every day,
Yes.
telling them what you can't do and what you can do, and you don't know what the fuck somebody been through.
Yeah.
You can be totally oblivious to something if you're not in that world. You know what I mean? And that's sad. You know, if you can't control and make your own fucking decisions.
I got to say
Yeah.
this. I mean, I'm a Republican. I'm not a fan of abortion, but you're damn sure not going to tell me if some girl's raped by her uncle and gets pregnant, like, well, but it's a baby. Okay, so you're going to torture this girl
for the
for
rest of
9
her
months.
natural life.
Well,
Fuck.
you're gonna. No. Let's go with the immediate. The immediate consequences. You're going to torture this girl for 9 months with a child.
9 months. That's a whole life thing.
You're no. I'm talking about the
Oh.
immediate result.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The immediate, and imagine, because now you already skipped my point. Imagine the emotional destruction that you're having to go through for not being reminded every single day that you were raped. You were literally destroying that person mentally. You know, I do not, and I'll say this for everybody here. I do not believe that abortion would be, oh, well, I got pregnant and I want to have an abortion, you know, and you're on your third one. I'm not a fan of it, because one of the arguments that has been in the works for years was, you know, you can't just use it as a form of birth control. You have one, you have two abort, you have three. You're, you know, Jesus Christ. Get a condom.
Was the law or the issue about multiples, or was it about just
no?
doing
That's
the
mine.
act?
That's mine.
No, I'm just
mine
saying
is multiple. But so we
The
capped
law
that
is
off,
any.
and yeah,
Any of them, whether it's your first or
Oh, yeah, it
seventh.
don't-
What
no.
matter what the
Whether you were
circumstances.
raped, it doesn't matter.
Nothing.
The only
Well, saying
time
that you can't have.
you cannot. The only time
That's
that you can have an abortion is if it's a cost between your life and the
And
child's life.
Hell
So in other
no.
words, if I take this baby to term, I'm going to die if I'm a woman. So I'm going to cap that off with this. I am not a woman. I think every fucking man should be taken out and said, y'all can't vote on this right here.
Yeah, what the fuck would we have to say about that? You know what
Well,
I mean?
I know quite a few, and I've actually heard an argument that makes sense on the face of it. And that is, you know, on the face of it, this
That's a great
argument
point.
has a merit. And that is, hold on. So girl gets pregnant. She doesn't want to have the baby, but I want her to have it. So why didn't she have a baby? Just give baby to me. She didn't have to have anything to do with child. I'll take it as a father.
Yes.
Right. But if she wants to have it and I don't want her to have it,
she can still have the baby.
right. She
And
gets
put
to
your
have
ass
it
on child
and then
support.
put your ass on child support.
But if she don't want it,
It's not the man has no choice.
ain't that a bitch?
So, but on the face of it, it's like, now hold the fuck up.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But I'm not the one that has to carry that child to term.
You know, my problem, man, and my position with all this is when they politicize the individual body, like to tell a person what to do with their body. That's the part I have a problem with. You know what I'm saying? I think when it comes to your body, you should have every right. I mean, it's beyond a right. Should nobody on the face of the earth tell you what you should do with your body.
So
You know
I
what I'm
shouldn't have to wear my seatbelt.
You shouldn't have to do none of
Because
this
that's
shit.
the way I view it.
It's
Where
the
are
fa-
all you abortion people about these seatbelt laws?
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, start there, get that one over. I mean, that's precedence. My body, my choice. You know,
If
My
I
body,
want
my
to fly
choice.
out,
That's
let
it
me
right
fly
there.
out.
I want to do drugs.
It's
I
just-
want to shoot heroin. My body, my choice.
Same
But
shit.
the argument in this single deal is how it doesn't make sense. My body, my choice. But everything else I want to do, you're saying I can't because you make it illegal. I mean, we know the drug, and for the federal government, drugs are money. You shouldn't have to wear clothes. Yeah, but that affects me, dude. I've seen you, and I do not want to see you naked there, Jesse. I will pass. That's Jesse.
Hey,
Guy
Hey,
working.
Jesse. Hey,
Hey,
if
boy,
you don't want to
no.
wear clothes, bro, don't wear clothes.
Don't you dare come to my house butt ass naked, dude.
Now, not external, but I'm talking about, like, say for instance, in the same line of this COVID vaccination shit. Hey, if I don't want to get vaccinated, bro, I shouldn't. Don't be in my face talking about it and make a legislation. That's just like them saying you can't
There
get
is
a
no
divorce.
legislation.
My point. That's just like saying if they're going to legislate what a woman could do with her body, you know what I'm saying? Legislate it. That's just
Right.
like saying that
But her
legislating saying that I have
pregnancy.
to.
No. But see, you're missing the point between you compared something that affects other people to something that affects an individual. Abortion, women, their body, their choice. She can go out in public and cough all she wants and sneeze and pee on herself or whatever happens. I'm just saying that because I knew I sneeze and pee on yourself. But it's not going to affect you. Somebody going out without taking a COVID vaccine and passing that on, you're talking about something that affect, just like meningitis and measles and everything. We have the whole non-vaxxers. Your child gets measles, it does affect because that measles mutates. And then now the vaccine that because they had that happen in New York. It was a huge fucking epidemic because it was now a new strain of measles. It wasn't the old school measles. It's new and improved. It's the 2020 version.
Or somebody decided to send their baby to school with it.
Right. But you're talking about and on the flip side, I agree, because as long as I'm vaccinated, y'all are telling me I'm fine. This is basically the common cold on fucking steroids. We know that. But the vaccinations are working and we go forward with that.
But question if they're working.
What do you mean?
You know how many people that's vaccinated and took boosters that still died from this shit, so-called?
I haven't heard of any except for the immune compromised. That's the only people I've heard, which they said automatically. Then people can damn near get anything and die. But they died of COVID.
I'm talking people that, goddammit, took the vaccination, got both boosters.
Right. But you're trying. But here's my
died.
point. Here's my point. You're trying to compare something that has nothing to do with anybody but two people. That is not my body, my choice.
Think about the concept of what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, bro, I don't feel that should be legislation about what I do with my body.
There isn't.
Boy, they trying to legislate goddamn abortion?
Oh, you said my body. You can't have a baby. Okay. I got you.
The body.
With women.
The body.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? The body. And
he goes, my body. I'm like, well, they don't, because I thought he was talking about COVID. Unless there's something we don't know about you, Mafio, I don't think you can have a baby.
The biggest problem of all this shit we're talking about is when they politicize shit, man. Politics fucks everything up.
Everything's fucking being politicized.
My point exactly. So,
but that's just like any Democrat that screams, well, you're a racist because you don't agree with something. It's not fucking true. It's not. Well, I'm gonna take it back.
An opinion.
It's not always true. Don't get me wrong. There's some racist fucking politicians, but some of it gets comical. Oh well, you're a fucking racist. Why? Because I disagreed with getting rid of guns. Because guns affect minority communities more than they affect anybody else. So you're going to tell me I'm a racist because I'm not going to take everybody's right to a gun away? That actually is it fucking happened not too long ago. Oh, well, you're a racist. You can't do that. And now they have watered down the point of who is and who is not. So now everybody's a fucking racist that they if you disagree with them, you're racist.
See, I get it.
So it's not a single side. You can unplug that. It's not a single side. It's all over the place. And that's the end, guys. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, it's time. Again, thank you all for joining us for another amazing episode of the People's Rebuttal Podcast. Vaughn, hit them with how they can keep up with it.
Oh, we got it on the outro. Here we go.
Hey.